like a craft beer through a pint glass. These are the gays of our lives. A show where
Sears
and James
get out their gay decoder rings to decipher the gay alphabet and bridge the gap between the older and younger LGBTQ community and everyone fucking else. And now, here are your hosts.
Hey guys, it's Sears.
and James.
And today on The Gays of Our Lives,
We have Mathew Boudsreaux, aka Mr. Domestic, who I am a total fanboy of. I love to watch crafts. I can't really accomplish crafts myself, but this man definitely inspires me to think I could. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Oh my God, thanks for having me. It's super awesome to chat with you. I love the intersection of queerness and crafting, and it's really important to allow space for both, especially in the crafting world, because I try to focus on inclusivity, which isn't a big component of it at large. And so I love the community that has begun to grow and develop and supports the need for inclusion in crafting and sewing. So thanks for having me.
Oh, 100. Honestly, I think that was like the main reason I want to have you on is so many of your videos are not just crafts, but like, I loved, you had like a couple for MLK Day that were not just educational and definitely don't wrong, had the craft angle to it. But again, they were talking about things that are usually avoided on MLK Day. And I loved that. So really your inclusivity goes so deep.
Thank you. It's just important. And I think a couple years ago, all of us like at large had an awakening to a lot of things that were happening. And that's when I realized that I wasn't actually providing an inclusive space like I thought I was. Just because I found myself in a situation that was similar to when I lived in Texas growing up with a bunch of conservative white elderly women who would tolerate me but not accept me. And so that was kind of jarring to me. So since then, it's like I started speaking up on issues because I assumed people knew my values and that people would know not to like come be a part of my community if they didn't support those values. But I've learned through my own journey that privilege doesn't allow people to understand that I'm talking about them when they're not supposed to be there. So I have to keep talking about it all I can because I don't want any like racist or homophobic person to be in the corner enjoying all of this if they don't support me as a human too. So I like that. It was kind of clunky at first trying to fuse like social justice and crafting and sewing, but I think I found my path and a good way to like bring it on. Sometimes I have to have like a really deep confrontational conversation with people, and I'll do that because I don't mind conflict if the resolution is going to be positive. But that's what this has all been about, is making sure everyone understands that they're seen and that they are safe, and then allowing the racists and homophobes to know that they're not welcome in my community.
I love that. But the one thing that I'm drawn to about you is not as much the crafts, which I used to do more scrapbooking back in the day when I had time, and I play with my 3D printer and my Cricut, but I don't really craft as much as I used to. But your positivity, because that's what's changed in me. My positive attitude and the way I look at life and being grateful for things. And that's what draws me to you, is that you're grateful.
And that's it. People ask how I'm so positive. And it's like, I don't find myself like out like weirdly positive. I think this is just how people should be. But it starts with gratitude. I wake up and I'm grateful. My life, I'm not this way because my life was easy. My life was shit. It was hard. I've gone through a bunch of crap to get me to this place now. So, the positivity comes from waking up grateful for the fact that as a 45-year-old queer man, I'm married to the love of my life. We've been together 20 plus years. We have a daughter. I'm living in my dream home. Somehow I built this business of Mr. Domestic and my sewing school. And so it's like, I'm just grateful that despite the messages that I got growing up of me never being worthy of love or me never being worthy of success, I showed them. So I love it. It's so easy to wake up grateful, and then gratitude leads to joy, and then I get my day started.
Right. And now for me, it was a trauma thing. Now your sister died a few, 15, 20 years ago-ish?
She 13 years ago, she did. Yeah, she was my one source of unconditional love my whole life. She was 5.5 years older, and we were best friends forever. It was always she and me. And she was always made out to be the black sheep of the family, and she protected me from a lot of stuff. And then 13 years ago, she died of an accidental prescription drug overdose, like total shock. And I was living in Los Angeles at the time. And when she passed, I realized who she was for the family. Like I knew who she was for me because she was that for me. She was that person, but she was the glue of my family. And I never realized that until she was gone. And I was like, oh, wow, the rest of y'all suck. Like, y'all are lucky that we had her because the rest of y'all aren't it. And so I have a relationship with my niece, who is her daughter. And like, we're close. We're close as all can get out. And that's all I care about, really.
But was that the thing that spurred your joy of life and your gratefulness? I mean, for me, it took a tragedy to really get into that positivity mind
It was
frame.
that point that made me look at my life. And I felt kind of like I was living for two. And like we both had addiction issues, and somehow I got on the other side of it and she wasn't able to. And so it's like I want to make sure I honor her in everything that I do. But it was hard at first. Like that rocked my world. The first year after she passed, wow, was I a hot mess. But then after about a year, I realized I didn't like who I was turning into. And I lived in Los Angeles and I was super skinny and I modeled then. Had like 5% body fat, was super lean, tan. I would straighten my hair, all of that. And then I looked around and I was like, wow, because there's a bunch of that in Los Angeles. I was like, that's not me at all. That's not who I want to be. I don't want to lead with my aesthetic. I don't want the way that I look to be the most important thing to people. I'd rather like lean into my intellect and my talent. And so I started to do that, and I went on different creative journeys. And it was all because with my sister's passing, I was like, wow, okay, we can't take this for granted. Let me honor her the best way I could. And so like I busted my butt. I like quadrupled my income so I can make sure that her daughter was taken care of and my daughter is taken care of. And yeah, it's my motivation. Between my sister wanting to honor her and the inspiration that I get from my daughter, yeah, it's like 1-2 punch of awesomeness.
So just to kind of take in what we figured out so far. So you grew up in Texas. You were born in Louisiana, grew up in Texas. When did you come out? And I just can't imagine the intensity of that culture, if I'm being 100% honest.
In Texas.
Well, it's like, I mean, we know it's queer people, like we don't come out just once. We come out all the time. Like it's like it's like I wish there was like a banner that I would be like, I'm gay, and I try to with the rainbows, but even still people don't see it. So what was the question? I forgot. I lost my train of thought.
I guess
I laughed at myself and then I forgot what I was saying.
I guess I guess in this scenario, when was
coming
the first?
out? Okay, I'm here. I'm here with you. So yeah, my main coming out, like the first time, the one that like I was stressed about was with my mom. And my major coming out, I was dating a girl for 1.5 years and working at a movie theater. And one of my friends at the movie theater, I was 16, 17, she was a lesbian. And she told me that she wanted to take me someplace that she thought I would love. And I was like, okay. And so I went with her and somehow I got in and I went to my first gay club. And I was like, oh my God, this is me. There's more of me. I didn't know. And the very next day I came out and I broke up with my girlfriend and told my mom. And my mom told me not to tell my stepdad, which later on became a problem, which led to my second coming out when I was kicked out of the house. But that was my first one. And then in my I need to do a video or something to show people this. But like those senior books that people like carry around and sign and stuff when you're a senior in high school. So within that, I had like a page of all of these pictures of men, not naked men, just regular men, of like actors and stuff. That was like a fold out. It was like 4 pages on this side, 4 pages on that side. I taped it up. And then when people were looking through my senior book, then they would see that and then we would talk about it. And for the most part, I think that the reception was positive. I don't remember a lot of like crap, but I generally at that point didn't really pay attention to negativity because it was too much. Then I would just focus on positive. So I'm sure it was there. I just didn't see it.
I love that that's just in your nature then. It's just
Yes.
easier to focus on the positive and move forward that way. I love that.
It takes less energy, honestly, than the negative.
I've learned from that is not to ignore the negative though. Like I focus on the positive, but me ignoring the negative and just like pretending like it wasn't there put me into some toxic situations because I didn't see that they were actually toxic for me because I wasn't being receptive to it and noticing. And then I started noticing, and then I remove myself from all of those situations. And now as I put myself in new situations, I know to look out for it so that I can be free and be myself and be positive. Because those kind of situations aren't good for us. And I don't want to be in them. And I especially don't want to be in them and entertain people if they're going to like be oppressing me as I entertain them. So
That's so I just love everything. It's just so relevant. I feel like, especially to some things that we both have been going through recently, I just feel like it is so easy to ignore that negative stuff and honestly lose bits of your own self-identity. I feel like, and I think that, and I think, I mean, there's a reason I'm single right now. Like, you know what I mean? Like, it's just very easy to put yourself in a position where and to be fair, it's usually on both sides, in a relationship. But that being said, like, no, that just so speaks to me.
The thing though, I lost my train of thought there. Whoa.
Sorry, I didn't
go
mean to
ahead.
do
No,
that.
you looked at me and I was like,
It's these eyes. They're
I know,
like half
right? I'm
green,
like,
half
oh,
brown.
I'm in
If you saw
love.
them in
Ooh.
live, they're very hard to focus. But what were we talking about? Oh, no, I did want to touch on just other things I'm excited about you about. So you. I really want to touch on like what your goals are for that. And like, because sewing is very important in my family. Pretty much everybody knows how to sew because my grandmother thought it was important to like be able to repair your own clothing. Because, she was born back in the 20s or what. I would love to know kind of like how that started.
well, my sewing journey in general started whenever my daughter was born. Like I wanted to learn when I was a kid and my mom wouldn't teach me because I was a boy and she always wanted my sisters to learn. So I didn't get to learn any of that. And my spouse knew that I always wanted that connection. So a year after my kid was born, they bought me a couple sewing courses and apparel, and I was awesome. Didn't expect that to occur because I'd tried before and wasn't very good. But with my kid as my inspiration, suddenly I was really, really good. And then I just kept doing it. And then I put my stuff on internet 2 years later, and then Instagram blew up, and gradually now I'm Instagram, TikTok, YouTube, Facebook, everywhere. But the sewing school happened whenever my YouTube channel was stolen. That was a phishing email, and I responded. I thought I caught it like a minute later, but it was already too late. And they stole my account. And then for 2 months, they were pushing out political disinformation, like Laura Ingraham, Sean Hannity, all of that kind of stuff, like antithetical to who I am.
Yeah.
And forcing my my subscribers to watch it. And I was, of all things, that's the thing that bothered me the most, was that I wasn't able to protect my community from that kind of shit. And so as I was fighting to get it back, I did everything. Thank God for the community, and thank God I got it back. But I was like, I need to better protect them. And the only way for me to protect the community from that kind of stuff is if it's on my terms and in my space. So I was like, let me start an online sewing school. And I did, and it's been awesome. The support's been great. And now I'm finally at a place where I can start building it and building more content and adding to it. But really, I just see it not as the main hub, but one of the hubs in like social places, if the internet is social, for people who want to learn how to sew and craft in an inclusive space, because that's one of the tenets of Sew You, is that's inclusive also. So that's how that started. There was a need, because the longer I'm in this field, I realize there are a lot of people that have had experiences like me, like walking into a fabric shop and getting side eyes from people who didn't think that you belonged there, and people not wanting to help, and people trying to push you out of groups. Like I thought it was my own situation. There was something with me, but no, there are a lot of us that's happened to. And frankly, it's anyone who's not white, cis, het, and female.
Mm-hmm.
And because those white, cis, het females, especially of the elderly persuasion, think that they own it and that they can gatekeep sewing and crafting. And I'm here to say no. Sorry.
Can't.
You don't own that. Well, you don't own that. So I'm claiming it.
I love that.
Too bad So You wasn't around in 2020 during the quarantine lockdown because everybody started learning how to sew masks. And if my friend was doing it and I said, well, I don't know how to sew. And she's like, well, learn. And I'm like, no, I took industrial tech, not home ec. No, I don't want to learn. But I saw this kid that got a 3D printer and started making the ear savers for the masks. And I was like, ooh, I can do that. So I bought a 3D printer and started printing those. And I'm like, I don't want to learn how to sew. That's not who I am, but I want to make something on my 3D printer to help, but if you would have had that back then, man, that, a lot of these people didn't know how to sew that were learning. And I don't know where they went to
learn. I got some of them.
Did you?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, some of them in there. But like my school isn't just sewing. It's called Sew You, but there's like fabric weaving in it. I might add my crochet. I'll put all the things that I do in there. It's taking time to add it.
I really like that fabric weaving that you did with the, it looked like the LBGT colors. It looked like Cuberts. The Cuberts, that's what it looked like to me. Do you know what Cubert is?
Yeah, I know what Cubert is.
Well, you're young. I didn't know.
I love video games. It doesn't matter how old I am.
I didn't know if that was around still.
No, well, what's great is the laundromat I go to has an arcade, quote unquote, and it's a bunch of old quarter machines.
I love that.
So like that's over there, Pac-Man, all of that. Oh, that's all in the corner.
But anyway, yeah.
No, I guess so I love that because my younger brother was very self-conscious about his ability to sew and stuff. And like, he honestly, like, and he's a hetero straight male, but like, he doesn't take much encouragement to do things. And it's like, I'm genuinely going to tell him more about Sew You because it's more than obviously just sewing, but like, cause I think he would be so good at like crocheting, quilting and all of that. And you, like I said, you just put so much inclusivity and like, I'm telling you, I am such a fanboy of your channel. I will send links out to my friends. Like, have you seen this?
I can't tell you how many
straight people too.
A lot of my friends are straight people.
They just can't be racist and homophobic. So,
so I like I said, I felt like I had seen you somewhere besides like on the internet, and I looked up IMDb to see if you had been in anything, and you were like at Michael's. You said.
Yeah, I'm in like last Pride because I've been working with them for a few years, and then they asked me to be on their Pride display. So I made some projects for them, and I taught a class, and then I taught another class on National Coming Out Day for them, and then I was on all their displays all over the country and in Canada. I was like, what? But then they asked me to come back and do it again 6 months later, and so now I'm in there again. I guess there was a good response to me before in there. And so it's like, wow, I'm really proud of them. I told them that they did that because one, they didn't ask me to do gay stuff first because because a lot of companies don't understand that they're exploiting us when they come to us to fill in for Pride. If they're not doing it on their own and they expect us and they don't give us the equity dollars, then they're messing up and they're exploiting us. And that's not what Michael's did. Like I worked for them for 3 years and then they asked if I'd be interested. And I was like, oh my God, yeah, you've already been an ally. I would love to do that. That's great. And then they went and did it again. And I wasn't in a gay thing. And I was like, wow, if that isn't a model of how to get it right. Absolutely. When it comes to bringing in oppressed groups into the story of your brand. Wow, that was powerful. I was like, that's awesome. And I got to be a part of it.
How did you get in touch with them or how did they find you? Was it just your internet presence and your YouTube and everything?
I mean, I'm popular, I guess.
Well, yeah, I mean, obviously.
No, they're always looking for people. And I'm a big presence online and I didn't know that the things that brands were looking for were the things that I do innately, which was respond to everyone and engage and try to chat with people. And I've always done that because anytime someone comments in any of my posts, I'm like, oh, that's a human being. And I used to respond to everyone. I can't anymore because it's gotten too big. But yeah, so it's like I had all the metrics and stuff and I know how to do all the things. So they brought me on. It was really cool.
That's awesome. I love that. I love it so much. But as far as that's what I was going to say earlier is as far as responding to people, and you may get, I don't know, you probably get a few, not very many negative people that come on you and make comments negatively. Do you?
I get a lot.
Oh, do you get a lot of negative? Really? See,
I get a lot. Yeah, it's a lot. It's constant. It's a lot and it's gross. So gross that we pulled my kid from social media because the hate got different once I started to talk about social justice stuff. And I didn't want her to participate in any of that, and it just felt unsafe for her. I can handle it, but not an 8-year-old. You don't need to hear it. Yeah, I get all of it.
Do you
I
ever
get all of
respond
it,
to
and
them
it's
because of?
constant. I don't really respond. I just block, delete, and don't engage for the most
Okay.
part. Occasionally, I do it, and I'm like, oh, let me just get it out. It'll be fun, and it never ends fun. It always takes up too much energy and gets me all like anxious, and I don't
Oh,
want to
really?
participate in that. The only time I'll do it is if it's something good that I can make a TikTok about, because that's what the TikTokers do.
Yeah.
And that's really the only. And then I'm using their hate for content, and I love that.
That's what I do a lot of times. My friend goes, you shouldn't respond to these people. And I'm like, but it's good. And she's like, never mind. After she watched a couple of them, and she goes, keep responding to them.
Yeah, because that helps, because seeing it in that kind of way helps other people know that they also can stand up for themselves and how to
Right.
do it. And then other people have their thing. Like me, I take this whole, like, I'm a grown man, really, really, like, I'm a role model. I realize it. So that's a lot of the reason that I will respond. Like if I'm in a live stream, I'll respond because I know the kids are watching, and I want the kids to know that there's a grown up that has their back. And then I also just want to model to them how to respond. Because it's like, you don't have to just take it. And then, I mean, you can say you're ignoring it, but it hurts. It still hurts me. I'm not gonna lie. It hurts whenever I get a bunch of like hate for no reason. I just don't understand it because it's so the opposite of who I am. Like I would never like think, oh my God, I don't like this person. Let me just go make their life hell and comment. And I'm too busy to do that kind of stuff.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's part of the thing. I try to let it slide, but
Do you think maybe it's some people that are so negative that post those? A lot of times they don't have a lot of followers or friends or stuff, but it's because they're so negative in their life. They're like, well, this person's too happy. I got to try to crush them a little bit. Is that kind of, that's what I think.
Well, I think
They just want somebody else to be miserable too.
and I don't want to put it on I'm straight people. I love you, but I'm going to read you a little bit. Like there is a huge segment of straight, cis, let's say white folks that don't want to see queer people thrive, that don't want to see them succeed, that don't want to see them be happy. Many of them even in my family. So for them to see someone who is clearly living their best life and doesn't really give two shits if they don't like me, and I'm celebrated, like that pisses a lot of people off.
I love
Good.
it.
Be
I
pissed
love
off.
it.
I just
Be
think
pissed
it's
off.
funny.
That's
I
great
get
for
it.
me.
I just think it's funny, like when you, because really, like this is something my dad used to tell me all the time. He's like, the amount of people who are way more insecure about themselves in this world than someone who has a sense of self-identity is going to blow your mind. And he would tell me that all the time growing up. And now, keep in mind, I'm transgender, so it took me a long time to kind of find a sense of self-identity. So like, I mean, literally, like I wasn't in my own body until 30. So like when I look at it, thank you.
Last year.
Literally last year. So like,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah.
It's genuinely been an absolute thrill to be myself.
It's so cool to have watched too.
But it's like, guys, stop! You're getting me all excited, and I'm losing my point. God damn it, guys, quit flattering me. No, but when you look at this, like a lot of this negativity and this insecurity from people, it just creates all of that hate and that prejudice in society, and it's just. I wish people's first response wasn't prejudice, but half the time it's, well, it has to be a fault of this general group of people. Because and I can say I'm guilty of it. It's usually old white men for me, and I'm usually not wrong. But like, I just feel like, there's always going to be that insecure group. But I think it's also important to have those messages that, like you said, on live stream for kids, but even just people who are new to the community to hear how to respond to that kind of hate. It's just so fulfilling. Absolutely.
Because this is a new thing for me. This is like a couple years. Like I haven't always been the king of boundaries and speaking my mind and all of that. It's really uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I don't like doing it, but it's something that I have to do. So I do it. But yeah, it's that prejudice. It's that prejudice that is indoctrinated, that once again, a segment of the global population feels that they can actively critique people who are different than them, and it's in their doctrine and it's in their religious. It's not in the text, because I actually spent 10 years researching the Bible and it's nowhere in there about us, but they think it is, and they misuse it and they weaponize their religion. And so because of that, it's supported in a lot of communities to criticize queer people. And I'm the first that will be like, well, you're wrong. you're wrong. We're awesome. Because before colonization, queer people were celebrated everywhere. And then colonization messed up the globe. So it's like, nah, don't talk to me about the Bible, because I can probably know more than any Christian out there. And then 2, don't try and talk to me about the facts of history. So when I try to have those conversations with people, many people will support, but then some people don't like that I'm actually educated on the topics.
I love that you have the historical background for it all the way back to colonization, because I think that's like the reason. I think that's the difference between people who get scared. That's what I'm calling it, because it's people who act irrationally. But people who get scared and lash out, I feel like a lot of that just comes from a lack of education. And maybe it's also from a lack of access to that education. But it's still, that I feel like is a huge problem.
Well, and that's why we started this whole thing, is because I, being a 47, I almost forgot how old I was, 47-year-old lesbian, didn't know anything about trans when we first met. And I was just like, if I don't get it and I'm in the community, how does everybody else get it? And so we figured, with education comes acceptance.
And so
that's it. And that's the tag is now they're willfully ignorant. So it's like these people, they know that they don't have the information and are doing everything in their power to make sure that they never receive it through their insults, because if they do receive the truth, then they can't do that to us anymore. So they choose to be ignorant so that they can continue to oppress us. And it's like, But yeah, the queer community, like even me, like it's changing so fast. There's so many different genders and so many different orientations. And I think it's beautiful. I recently, this past year, realized that I was asexual, and I came out and I was like, oh, okay, that's great. So even me, myself, I'm learning. But yeah, we especially need to champion our own community, and that infighting within the LGBTQ community. I don't understand that.
Yeah,
Like we should support each other. Like really, just don't negate someone's truth. It's as simple as that. If someone shows up and says, "Hey, this is who I am," okay, what do you want to do? Like it's that simple. Like
just believe them what they say.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Right on. I don't understand it, but let's have some fun.
Exactly. Like, well, I mean, because really, even just like I said, it's that self-identity and the ability to have that nowadays that you should just value. You can even access that.
Well, and I always say I try to meet everybody and be everybody's friend. And if they have a Trump hat on, I'm trying harder, because they don't know what they don't know. And if I can teach them to be a better person and understand it a little bit better, because I think we're causing hate if we go on the opposite side away from them. I think we're doing some hate. And I think if we try to teach them, maybe, and I've had a lot of them be more accepting of gay people and black people, because I've helped educate them to understand that we're not bad people, but if everybody goes away from them, they'll never get to know anybody in our situation, in just my opinion. Not everybody agrees.
That's great that there are people like that are willing to have those conversations. Clearly you have access to people that are receptive to the way that you communicate. Me personally, I have a hard boundary that I don't want to fuck with anyone who supports Trump. And that's just from my own spirit. And at this point, I feel like if they're choosing not to educate themselves and go down these conspiracy theory rabbit holes, I can't communicate with people who don't have the same facts as me. And that's really what made it hard for me, because I used to be that way. I used to always want to be able to talk to people, but it became where it's like they're not even operating in the same facts as me. So it's like I don't want to navigate that. I don't want to have to navigate with someone else that they're existing in an alternate reality because they don't want to accept that they're racist. Like that's just so hard. I don't know the solution to that, but it was taking way too much energy for me. So now I just have a hard boundary. I'm like, nah. But there are Trump supporters in my community that know to be quiet, that learn and grow. So that's great. But for me, it's like I can't because it hurt too much. It hurt too much. Maybe there will be a day when it doesn't, or when more of the truth of what he did comes out, and then more people realize that they were duped. I would love that to happen, but not when people are still saying the things that they're saying today. It's scary, and I can't support that.
I'm not, the people that I talk to are not the ones that are sitting there yelling the hate. But I mean, they voted for him for one reason or another. And
they voted for someone who was willing to use trans people as a bargaining chip to achieve political gain, right? He did that the first year. He actively recruited a vice president. You know this. I went to college in Indiana, so I know this. From Indiana, that he has the worst record when it comes to HIV/AIDS and queer policy. And then he was working his magic for 4 years. So Yeah, if someone voted for him, yeah, there's 8 billion people. If that means I'm saying fuck you to like a billion of them, okay.
I get it. I do.
I don't want to. I don't want to. I have too many awesome people that I'm trying to get to
Exactly.
sew and craft and stuff to really spend a lot of energy on them. But if they wanted to, I would love this to sit down with someone who had the mindset like that was really willing to be receptive. I would even promise to sit there and listen and be receptive to what they had to say. But I've done that so many times and they're never receptive. So if there's someone that would be, I would love to know. I would love to know what the appeal is and what they are doing to think that they can be my friend and at the same time support someone who's trying to hurt me. I'd love it. I just haven't found the right person to chat with.
I mean, honestly, I so many thoughts I have on that. But the main thing for me has always been, as far as that goes, okay, the operating on different facts thing, for instance, I think like that's where I've gotten lost in those discussions. But I think that's also true. I grew up in a household where we do talk politics a lot. So I always know also where to draw my boundaries with that. And I think that that's like kind of an important thing for all of us to know. I think obviously you guys obviously have your separate boundaries. I think that's one thing that has become tricky since last, and I swear after this we have to go into Gays Ask. But what's one thing since last election that it's funny is like me and my dad talked about this. It's like hard to navigate because not only is everybody operating on different facts, we're not trusting the same sources maybe we used to trust. And maybe we're even seeking out other sources, then it's like hard to do that. Then there's also 5,000 sources that are just shoved in your face that you have to wade through. And I think that has just been
I refuse to watch TV.
Main complaint. Well, TV, fuck that shit.
I will not watch the
Man,
news.
that's where I'm like, because then I can't source anything on TV anymore. But anyway, that was my 2 cents on it. Our next segment is called The Gays Ask, where we ask you a bunch of corny questions to get to know you. And they're literally usually made up on the spot, but I have a really good time with it. So we've just kept the segment. My first, the question we've been sticking with a lot, and it's like one of my favorite questions to ask people. If you were going to describe yourself as a flavor of jelly bean, what would it be and why?
Ew.
Exactly.
It would be vanilla cake.
Vanilla cake. That's a jelly bean flavor?
Oh,
Why not? I'm making it one now.
Okay.
Yeah, because it's my favorite and it's awesome. For no other reason than that. It has nothing to do with personality, but I'm like, yeah, that would be it.
Okay, right.
I don't know. What's a super sassy, funny flavor?
I said the Sour Patch ones. It's about sour because I'm very sour at first and then
She's
get
sour,
sweet.
she's sweet, then she's gone.
Bye.
I had a weird pack lately. It had like margarita, Tabasco.
Well, Jelly Belly makes everything.
It was like Mexican restaurant flavors or something. But those were weird, you know. I had one guy who he works with me. His answer was grass. He was like, I want to be a weird one, like those bad tasting ones. I want to be grass. I'm like, okay.
I want to be grass if it was the other grass, though. You know.
just straight up Mary Jane.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That's what I would want to be.
Maybe that like actually included TLC to like have your blood
TLC.
Did I say TLC?
You said TLC. Oh, I hate you right now. I can't even.
Tender loving care. I don't know. I always say I'm root beer because I feel like I'm like a soda. I don't know.
All right.
That's amazing. I probably would be like a fire.
Okay.
Like the fireball.
Fun.
Fireball. Yeah.
Like that, but a little bit sweeter.
Kind of burns. But it makes you feel good. All right. So since we just brought this up, I actually have a strain of weed getting cultivated, and it's going to be named the Sears Effect. If you had a strain of weed made, what would you have it named after you? What would you make your name for that be?
It would be called Giggle Nap. It's a giggle nap. So like it makes them giggle and then sleepy to want to take a nap. So it's a giggle nap.
I love that you already have like the effects laid out too,
You're
and
like,
it will do
got
this, and then
this,
this.
yes.
It's like, how does he know? Yes. Yes.
Well, I don't know. We were talking about it. I mean, Bob Saget's was just Bob Saget strain.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
a Mr. Domestic weed one day.
Ooh.
Why not? That would be cool.
We could do a Mr. Domestic CBD line. I'll talk to you later about that.
I mean, why not? And then we could have Mr. Domestic weed retreats. And
Where you just
sewing weed retreats. Oh my god!
I would so
I would come to your sew you if we could
you
just get
imagine?
high the whole time.
I don't think I would be able to partake because I would need to focus on teaching stuff, but I think that would be funny to watch.
Well, that's what the after party's for, right? I mean, oh my god!
But you live in LA, right? So you're right where it's legal.
I'm in Washington State, so it's legal here, though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought you were in LA for some reason.
I was there for a bit until I moved because we wanted to have a kid, and we realized it was way too expensive there.
Oh yeah, no.
And so we discovered Portland, and we're right outside of Portland on the Washington side, and it's awesome.
Oh, it's nice. I'm gonna go out there sometime soon. I think this year. Sure. Anyways, so you got another one?
Oh yeah,
I'm sure. You do.
Okay. So you're going to be reincarnated in the next life, but you have to be an insect. What do you choose and why? I love people's faces.
A praying mantis, but a female.
So you can eat your husband's head?
Absolutely. After you do it, what do you need them for? Like,
I'm with you.
did you know that they do it? They do that so that they can immediately have the right kind of protein for their kid.
Is that why?
God.
Right? It's like, so the guy's like, yes, I know this is going to be the best night ever. And then, okay, here, like, very special. But yeah, that would be fun.
Maybe that's the explanation for asexual. Which I've realized I'm pretty asexual myself in the last couple of years from this. It's helped me learn that too.
Yeah, I think a lot of people are. It's pretty common. I always thought I was broken. And then I was like, oh, I'm not broken. I just don't want to do that.
But mine is newer. Mine came on after my breast cancer. I wasn't before. And so now it's just different because I was never that way. And now it's just like, meh.
Well, it's all fluid, right? Sexual
Exactly, and I could care less.
There might be a time whenever I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm not that anymore. I'm pansexual and I just want to do all the things. I don't know. Right now, it's like I'm not that.
I love that because it's true. We've talked about that with me, so yeah, we don't know. You got any dad jokes? No. There's two dads. You have to have a dad joke.
That's okay. I've got one.
Oh God, here we go.
I've got one. What do you call a pile of cats? A mountain.
I was going to come up with something worse, but.
And then wait a
minute. I got one.
Okay.
And this, I don't ever have these. Some guy was yelling jokes at me as I was walking into a restaurant because my license plate says jokes. Because
so jealous.
He was like, "How do you fix a tuba?" With a tuba glue. And I was like, why is he yelling these at me? And he's like, your license plate. And I was like, oh, okay.
Jokes.
Yeah. So thank you so much. I am going to go into Michael's and I'm going to try to steal a picture of you and be like, I know him.
I'm sure if you ask nicely,
I will.
We should just go take a selfie with it.
Oh,
honestly.
We should. Do they have a cutout of you maybe like his life size?
Full cutout. I'm not to that point yet, but my picture is in the organization. So you'll see me holding this. Or the organization section, and then I'm in the frame section holding a frame. So you see my face. So you can take a photo of my face if you want.
Oh, yes. Oh, I need a frame anyways. So
there we go. There we go.
We can go right there. And we know him.
It's so cool. I mean, this honestly, like, not to be all like anything is more important than the other, but wow, it's kind of made.
Oh yeah.
Do you, okay, this is a selfish question because I do. Do you, when you go into Michael's and you see your face, do you kind of be like, that's me? You just kind of, it's so humbling, but it's like, that's me, really? This is really me? That's my face, for real.
Kind of. With a lot of this stuff, I kind of pretend like it's not real. Like, I know it's real, but it's all online, a lot of what I do. And so when I go out into the real world, I pretend like it's non-existent, even though people will recognize me and stuff, which is kind of weird. But yeah, so it's like almost like when I go in there and see it, I don't feel like I'm looking at myself. Like I know it's me, but then I'm just like, that's cool. That's cool. Cause it feels so surreal. But I'm trying to learn how to take more in and to stop and smell the roses and to really appreciate it. Like me saying that's badass and that's really cool doesn't mean I'm not humble. It just means that like, wow, this is kind of major.
Yeah.
See, and I'm like that. That's why I wanted to ask you because I was very blessed to get to work with Louis Anderson on Baskets. And every time I watch that episode, I'm like, that's me. I know. I was so geeked. But I mean, that's why I wanted to know because I do get like that sometimes. I'm just like, I can't believe it. That's me, you know?
It's very surreal. It's very surreal. A lot. And like when I'm super busy, like until a lot of things changed with the pandemic, I think a lot of us slowed down. But before that, I was always so busy that I didn't really know what all I accomplished. And I don't want to do that anymore. I want to actually be present for the things as I'm accomplishing them. And this was like one of the first where I did that.
Stop and smell the roses.
Yeah, it's really important. It's really important because it's like, how did I become 45? Where did 2021 go? I don't know how that happened. It's gone already. And it's very frightening. It's frightening to me. I got to a place where I'm like, not that I'm having a midlife crisis, but I realize my age and I'm like, wow, I've lived a lot of lives. I've done a lot.
Right.
Oh, wow. Let's start to like
enjoy
it.
Mm-hmm.
That's me right now. Yeah. I'm like, I'm about to be 50. Let's go. You know, it's just right. I get to be 50. That's what's amazing. And it's coming up and you know what? Enjoy every bit of it. It keeps getting better for me. And it seems like for you too. Living through love. Enjoy.
Well, thank you again so much for coming on, Mathew. I can't tell you how excited I was to have you on, how excited I am to air this episode. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both for what you're doing. It's really important. And honestly, to know that there are two lights like you in Indiana is so inspiring because we need more lights, and especially parts of the country that are a little bit more challenging for the queer community. And what y'all are doing is just fantastic. And you're bringing great things to the forefront. And I'm honored that you asked me to be a part of this.
Oh, yeah.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Of course.